When I play an old school 16-bit RPG now, that I played a lot as a kid, it's been fun to find mods that are basically difficulty and balance readjustments. So the game essentially feels the same, but it's sort of using like a more modern sensibility to try to individuate the characters so they feel different from each other, which is pretty rare, I think, in like SNES and Genesis games, and just to make sure that some of like the ridiculous difficulty spikes or overpowered characters kind of get evened out. I just finished using the CL mod for Shining Force, and I thought that was like a very good version of this, similarly to the Brave New World mod for FF6 I played last year. Mostly what it does is cleans up the battles, gets the flow down a little bit, and tries to make each character feel a little bit different from each other. I think it does a very good job of that. Difficulty-wise, I thought it was more challenging, but still pretty manageable. The first half of the game felt a little easy. Sometimes to be worried about these huge health pools of the bosses, but they didn't seem to be as crazy. Not as many of the bosses have like that per round healing as they used to. The second half of the game I did feel like dragged a little bit. I thought the battles were a bit too long, especially by like chapter 6, 7, and 8. The battles were taking me like over an hour each, to be honest. So I guess you do feel the fatigue on that a little bit. There's some major reworks to a lot of the characters. Most specifically, Musashi becomes someone who takes vastly reduced damage, can't be healed, and regens every turn. He is truly, unequivocally, stupidly overpowered, and you can get a ring that gives other people that same characteristic. I gave it to Zappa, Xylo, and Bleu, and both of them as well just become like way too strong. Like spell damage and healing is way down, I found, compared to the original game, and it makes you wonder whether the spell damage is sort of like a little bit overtuned in the original game, because despite it being so much less, I did feel like my casters were like still some of the most impactful characters I had. Archers are super weak, like way too weak, I think. But overall, it was pretty stimulating. I felt like generally pretty fun to have people who felt really different. My favorite character was Ernest. All gas, no brakes, full glass cannon. Characters like that you get sort of attached to because they get targeted so much that you're kind of just rooting for them. I also felt that like, the protagonist was never really even felt like a top 3 character to some degree. Like in a game like this, you kind of want him to get babied early and then be very, very strong later. But I don't even feel like he ever really got to that point where he was super, super impactful. Overall, I really liked it. I thought it was like probably the best one I could find of like an update for modern sensibilities. And if you really like playing Shining Force, this gives you a pretty unique challenge to it while still seeming pretty familiar.